Management Guru and mentor Padma Bhushan, distinguished Dr. Mrutyunjay B. Athreya ji, founder and Chief Executive Officer at Sarthak, Dr. Jitendra Agrawal ji, beloved Shri Kishan Kalra ji, Board of Trustees, National Advisory Board members, State Advisory Board members, Srimati Suman Agarwal and the team at Sarthak, Sri S.K. Guptaji and eminent families of the current occasion, participating organizations, institutions, individuals, viewers and listeners, ladies and gentlemen. Namaste and good afternoon to each one of you. Hope I am visible and audible to all of you. At the outset, gratitude with thanks to the Sarthak Educational Trust. I deem it as a great honor and privilege to be the welcome note speaker for an important panel discussion titled RDSM, Rashtriya Divyang Sahasaktikaran Manch. I join the trust to warmly welcome each one of you for the Sarthak national level 7th conference on disability under the theme of digital inclusion pathway to empowerment of people with a disability. Today is the day 2 of the National Conference on Disability, and the current panel discussion session is titled Rashtriya Divyang Sahasaktikaran Manch. The human spirit is one ability, perseverance, and courage that no disability can steal away. One of the favorite ways to ignite the passion and the sense of a happier and healthier lifestyle is by recollecting and engaging and motivating.
Raviji, sorry to interrupt you. Can you come a bit closer to the mic because voice is little bit.
It is Professor Helen Keller. Is that clear now?
Yeah, it's now clear.
Who said optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence. RDSM is an initiative by the Sarthak Educational Trust, bringing different civil society organizations and disability sector together and catalyze the movement of empowerment of PWDs. Policy advocacy, early intervention, skill training, and placement in suitable jobs. So far, trained and placed 20,000 plus persons with disabilities. It works through 20 centers spread around the country. Sarthak has been working for mainstreaming and the empowerment of persons with a disability since 2008 and have introduced positive changes to many lives. And with every such change and infusing the spirits to contribute more. A great, a very appreciable effort and contribution to society by Sarthak Educational Trust. RTS's mission is to help empower Indian persons with disabilities by leveraging the collective strength of the many non-governmental organizations dedicated to this particular field. Having objective as to commission and conduct relevant research and apply the findings for the benefit of the PWDs. Disability is extremely diverse. Very often, disability is not perceived as a public health issue. Therefore, action is not taken towards the disability inclusion in the health sector, which is also often overlooked in national disability strategies and action plans to implement and monitor towards that direction given. The number of people with disabilities are dramatically increasing. This is due to demographic trends and increases in chronic health conditions, among other things. Almost
Raviji, you have to come a bit closer again.
some form of disability,
Yeah.
temporary or permanent, at some point in life, people with disability are disproportionately affecting during the COVID-19 pandemic. If health services for the people with disability exist, they are invariably of poor quality or under-resourced. There is an urgent need to scale up disability services in primary health care, particularly in rehabilitation interventions. In India, the disabled population of around 2.6 crores persons with disabilities out of 121 crores. As the population also grows, the number has been increasing proportionally. Survey estimates that 6% of the current 130 crore Indian population puts number of PWDs 78 million of the current 130, covering the 21 recognized disabilities. At a global scale, over 1 billion over people are estimated to live with some form of disability, which corresponds to about 15% of the world's population, with up to 190 million, that is 3.8% people are aged 15 years and older having significant disabilities in functioning, often requires healthcare services. The number of people who are living with disability is increasing, part due to aging population and an increase in chronic health conditions. That the world's leading and the largest minority as per even World Health Organization. In most of the OECD countries, women report higher incidence of disability than men. Comparative studies on disability legislation shows that only 45 countries have anti-discrimination and other disability specific laws. To promote sustainable and transformative progress on disability inclusion through all pillars of the work of the country, this strategy requires all the government agencies to ensure that the disability inclusion is consistently and systematically mainstreamed into all aspects of life. A comprehensive policy on disability.
Raviji, sorry to interrupt you. I think your voice is becomes low gradually. So can you be a little bit closer to the mic?
A comprehensive policy.
Yeah, now it's better.
And action plan committing inclusive of people with disabilities in all their diversity and to systematically integrate disability in all programmatic areas, including that country level, and touching the lives of persons with disabilities and children with disabilities, and ensuring their well-being is the need and requirement for an overall inclusive progress and development in general and fabric of the society in particular. Disability and the development targeted and focused interventions are required for the uplift of people in disadvantaged positions of relevance would be a greater concern always. With this backdrop, a very distinguished moderator and a highly accomplished panel comprises of six speakers. Those includes government officials, policy makers, industry leaders, corporate professionals, medical practitioners, and researchers of relevance. I hope that this eminent panel will discuss the issues revolving around number one, how are different NGOs doing a remarkable work in their regions can be promoted to work in collaboration. Number two, competitive advantage and collective voice, how this collaboration could catalyze the moment of inclusion and empowerment, and how to expand an equitable opportunities to persons with disabilities and children with disabilities, and issues and implications with local and global arena. What are the barriers and possibilities? And also, I would wish that panel also will discuss collaborative partnership areas for the conceptive efforts to ensure energy to work with partners on key global events such as this and disability and development that result in suggested format and framework of the policy, legislation, financing, and advocacy, etc. Can we see how a collaborative model is a win-win approach for all, quoting some case studies that inspire and include the disability in sustainable development goals, alignment, and roadmap ahead with the targeted interventions. I sincerely wish the conference a great success. Panel discussions will lead to the fruitful deliberations which in turn will result in more effective measures in the days to come for improvement in the lives of persons with disability in India and also strengthen the ecosystem to enable to uplift the persons with disabilities and children with disabilities. I join with all of you for an appreciation to Sarthak team leaders, Srimati Suman Agarwal and the entire team at Sarthak for their untiring, continuous efforts and execution of excellence in grounding 7th National Conference on Disability in a very shortest time. My heartiest congratulations to Board of Trustees, National Advisory Board members, State Advisory Board members, National Advisory Board governance under the able guidance of Dr. Mrityunjay Athreya ji and Kishan Kalra ji and the founder, Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Sitinder Agarwal, who is observing the differently able. I also join with the moderator and the panel to acknowledge that Sarthak Educational Trust for their endeavors for organizing this very relevant and important panel discussion regarding Rashtriya Divyang Sahashaktikiran Manch and blessed to be a part of this grand conference. I join with Sarthak Educational Trust to welcome once again each one of you, particularly the distinguished moderator and erudite panelists, namely Sri S.K. Guptaji, former Director General, LFC from Department of Telecommunications, Government of India, in addition to 6 panelists, Dr. Mohankesh from Bangalore, Dr. Arvind Kulkarni from Pune, Ms. Usha Pattabhiraman, Ms. Radhika Ramurthy from Chennai, and Dr. Purnima Nair, Mumbai. A brief intro about the moderator, Sri S.K. Guptaji, before taking forward the proceedings by Dr. S.K. Gupta. Mr. S.K. Gupta is retired from Department of Telecommunication and presently working with Sarthak from last 1 year in the capacity of National Advisory Board member. He works closely with operations, finance, and the program team to ensure the development graph rising. Over to moderator to take forward the panel discussion proceedings to progress further. Thank you one and all. May God bless. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you, Raviji, for this very nice and elaborate background to the work Sarthak is doing and the overall data about the PWDs in India as well as in the world, and how collaboration and cooperation can help the cause of PWDs in the long run for everyone. As you all know, Sarthak Educational Trust is organizing this webinar to commemorate its 7th annual day of Sarthak Educational Trust as well as NAAI. This is the first time that we are going online because of the COVID scenario, where most of the activities have become online. Physical social distancing has actually become physical distancing. But one way it is good that we are able to meet often, we are able to exchange ideas and views with each other quite often. And from the comfort of our homes, we are able to exchange views. Raviji, yeah, thank you. So during COVID, actually, when the Bharat Bandh started in March, we like everyone else were taken aback as to how to carry forward the activities of Sarthak. Since our centers were all dependent on physical presence of the PWDs for their skilling. So without losing any time, we started exploring the ways of going online and continuing our skilling program online. And I'm happy to share with you that even during COVID, we have been able to train or skill more than 3,000 PWDs and get employed about 2,000 PWDs out of that. So while on the one hand, people were losing jobs during COVID, we were able to actually place them and help them in that way. During this period, we also have been able to get one mobile app made in coordination, in cooperation with the Capgemini, and this mobile app was launched yesterday, which will also, the video will also be played today during the course of this discussion. We have also been able to take a lot of other initiatives, like a global resource center is planned in Gurgaon, wherein we will try to do the capacity building of the NGOs and also display different technologies which are available throughout the world for benefit of everyone. So a lot of activities have been done even during COVID, and the topic of today's discussion, which is RDSM, Rashtriya Divyang Sashktikaran Manch, which means giving a common platform to all the NGOs for empowerment of PWDs in a collaborative and collective manner. That is the topic of discussion today. I just want to share with you in about 2-3 minutes what exactly Sarthak has been doing during this period. Every week, I used to interact with some 10 to 15 NGOs through this webinar to understand what difficulties they are facing during COVID, what help they need, how can we collaborate with each other to help each other during the COVID period. And during last 7 to 8 months, we have been able to reach 200 NGOs. And those 200 NGOs have shared their experiences, have also been able to help each other, and some of them needed funding during this period, which we tried to organize with some of the funders. But what we realized was that the documentation part at the end of some of the NGOs was not complete, because of which funding could not materialize during that period. Also, there are certain other issues which the NGOs were not aware, like how to open a bank account, how to comply with FCRA guidelines, how to register an NGO, whether like a trust or as a society or as Section 8 company, what are the benefits of 12A, ATG, and about Darpan, which is a portal organized or maintained by NITI Aayog and also TIS, Tata Institute of Social Sciences. So a lot of gaps were there with the NGOs when we interacted with them, and during last 2-3 months, we prepared certain PowerPoint presentations and we shared those presentations with the NGOs, and everyone appreciated that, yes, they have got benefited a lot. They will be able to now have better compliance to the rules and regulations of the government. They will also be able to make certain initiatives based on the information that we share. So the idea of Rashtriya Divyang Sashktikaran Manch actually originated from these interactions, that when we interact with each other, there are two advantages. One is that we are able to share common knowledge, and second is we are able to help each other with whatever. If someone needs something, it's possible that some other NGO is already having that capability. So the possibility of the two collaborating through this platform becomes very high. So with this background, I think I will open the discussion, the panel for discussion, and we will first start with Dr. Mahantesh. Welcome, Dr. Mahantesh, for joining this panel. Dr. Mahantesh is founder and chairman of Samarthanam International. He is a 3-time national award recipient who is working on the empowerment of disabled and making India inclusive. Disability rights advocate, motivational speaker, an avid traveler, technology follower, blind cricket player, English literature enthusiast, notable academician, role model to millions of people, and a true visionary. So, Dr. Mahantesh, the point, Dr. Mahantesh, the issue that we are discussing today is that the NGOs, many NGOs are doing excellent job in their field of activity and also in the area of their operation. But there are certain NGOs who need handholding. Also, when the entire system has moved to online and digital content is the prime mover of NGO activities, we feel that we can help each other by collaborating with each other. So, how is it under these circumstances? How can NGOs be encouraged to work in collaboration, and how can this collaboration catalyze the movement of inclusion and empowerment? Please also quote some examples of case studies if you are aware of. So over to you, Dr. Mahantesh.
Namaste, Gupta ji. Hope I'm audible.
Yeah, you are audible.
Thank you, Gupta ji. Hi, Ravi ji, all the organizers, all the people online attending this wonderful seminar through online. I would like to congratulate Agarwal ji and entire Sarthak team for hosting this and continuing the legacy of organizing this year on year. And very well introduced about the objectives by Gupta ji, and Mr. Ravi also gave a very nice introduction. So Samarthanam is a 23-year young organization, and me and my friend Nagesh, along with another friend Mudda, started this 23 years ago, and subsequently joined by a few other trustees. The prime objective of Samarthanam is to empower PWDs, but completely believe in what just now Gupta ji mentioned, to work in collaboration with organizations like us, and also work in collaboration with governments, corporates, and like-minded individuals and other institutions. Because we always talk people with disability are an integral part of the society. We as a progressive organization, I think, have no choice but to work together. With this objective, in the last 23 years, we have a huge network of like-minded organizations who work with persons with disability. Hearing from Mr. Gupta ji about 200 organizations contracted by Sarthak, sad to know that many organizations are struggling to obtain certain important documents. Compliance is a must. We need to be very, very compliant, avail all the necessary permissions and documents. Otherwise, in silos, we'll be working on our own without obtaining certain permissions and compliance that can put us into trouble. So good intention is very important, but having proper system structure, I think, is equally important. So organizations like Sarthak, Samarthanam, and a few others who are already in the field for last several years have learned certain systems, have understood the requirements, and are willing to guide, handhold, and nurture the like-minded organizations who are committed to do something for persons with disability. So Samarthanam completely in accordance with the objectives of this webinar and seminar. And as you rightly asked to quote some case stories. In Bangalore and Karnataka, a few years ago, some like-minded big organizations like Samarthanam, APD, and few others created an organization called DNA, Disability NGOs Alliance. More than 400 NGOs working for persons with disability are part of this DNA network. It is a registered conglomeration where we handhold the upcoming smaller organizations in rural areas. We debate, deliberate, and discuss the roles and responsibilities of organizations, the possibilities, the opportunities available, the policies. We also try and talk to government and request them to come out with certain plans and policies. So if we are together, we can become a force to reckon. We can demand what we want with government. We can also talk to big multinational companies and donor organizations and tell them the needs of PWDs. Otherwise, normally most organizations work in silos, work in isolation, but we'll be doing some commendable job. When we come on a common platform and share openly, like in the West, in Western countries, they openly share the donor database also. I don't think in India, not many organizations who do, very few. In my network, there are some very close organizations where we all work together. Whoever has a potentiality in certain fields. For example, so we share corporate database and connects to our like-minded group of organizations. And somebody in our group has a very good relationship with government, who does the follow-up and also guides organizations to how to fill the form, apply online, whole lot of things. So the beauty of working in collaboration is together we walk. We can walk long. So alone we can walk fast, but together we can walk long. So that is a principle I think we all have to inherit and try to learn each other work. Just to give a few examples of Samarthanam's large programs, how we could make them successful. Like I'm sure Sarthak also has done this. We have presence in more than 15 cities of India, where we work closely with all the local organizations, and also especially, if you all know Cricket for the Blind, Samarthanam manages blind cricket in the country through an independent organization called CABI, Cricket Association for the Blind in India. In India, cricket and Bollywood is very close to our heart. Cricket is a religion. So, and being myself a cricket enthusiast, decided to start Samarthanam and create an independent organization to promote. All the cricketers who belong to different part of the country in different states, they act as our immediate ambassadors, immediate representatives. And through cricket, we would have met a lot of friends, organizations, bureaucrats, politicians, celebrities. So they all become part of movement for people with visual impairment and other disability. Because in cricket and performing arts, we demonstrate the positive side of people with blindness and disability. So then you win the heart of people around, and you reach out to cricketing organizations like state cricket associations, BCCI, etc. So working along with each other brings many advantages. And it will also help you to scale your programs with limited resources, because each organization brings certain strengths, certain resources, which can complement our effort. So I'm sure other speakers will be talking more. Once again, I would like to congratulate the organizers, especially organizing this during December. It happens to be the World Disabled Day month. So let's have celebration for PWDs every day, every second, because people with disability are integral part of the mankind. And my vision is people with disability should become taxpayers of the country. They should become contributing citizens of the country. so that the last person in the society lives with dignity, lives with respect, and contributes not only for himself to his family, but society at large. So I salute all those who have worked for people with disability, and people with disability should get empowered, independent, and self-reliant. Thank you. My good wishes to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mahantesh. I think the topic of the discussion today cannot be more appropriate for your organization. I think you are already doing what we have proposed by way of the topic of discussion today. You have already made a disability NGO alliance in your area, and you are also sharing donor database. You are also advocating that collaboration with each other will strengthen us to the extent that we will have a stronger voice, not only to everyone, but to even to the government. We can plead our case more forcefully, and we can be more effective in taking the cause of NGO empowerment forward together. So I think with these opening remarks from Dr. Mahantesh, the stage is already set. He has also shared live examples of how they have been able to make a difference and bring so many NGOs together. And also the compliance to the government rules and regulations is very important, because only intention sometimes does not take us far unless we are compliant to the government requirements and aware of all the rules and regulations, where this type of collaboration works wonders. So thank you, Dr. Mahantesh. Now I'll go to Dr. Arvind Kulkarni, who is president of Kamaini, and he has been the chairman of Kamaini Society since 2007. Dr. Kulkarni is a graduate from BJ Medical College and has received his postgraduate medical training in cancer in Liverpool and New York universities. After practicing in US, UK, and Canada, Dr. Kulkarni returned to India and worked as cancer specialist in Jaslok Hospital, Bombay Hospital, and in Ruby Hall Hospital as head of radiation oncology department. His research is majorly focused on benefits of alternative medicines like Ayurveda, homeopathy, yoga, and mind-body medicines. Dr. Kulkarni has treated more than 30,000 cancer patients in past 40 years of his medical practice and has received Lifetime Achievement Award in 2010 in Mumbai from His Excellency the Governor of Maharashtra. In 2013, Dr. Kulkarni was felicitated with Leadership India Award by All India Achievers Foundation in New Delhi. Dr. Kulkarni is a multifaceted personality devoted to medicine, social work, education, and music, and also authored the book called Veer, War Against Cancer. So over to you, Dr. Arvind, for sharing your thoughts about collaborative approach of NGOs. You're on mute, Dr. Arvind. Yes.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear, Dr. Kulkarni.
Namaste for your kind introduction, Gupta ji, Ravi ji. You may be wondering what a doctor is doing in this gathering. But although I am an oncologist, I am greatly interested and pulled up in this work for the mentally disabled people by Kamayani Institutes in Pune. First of all, let me appreciate Dr. Agarwal and Sarthak Trust. I think we are close friends for last 10 years, and Agarwal ji and Sarthak have conducted several job fairs in Pune in Kamayani Institutes. Our institute works for the mentally disabled persons of various categories on the grassroots level. So our institute was started in 1964 by Sindhutai Joshi. She was a housewife and social work interest. She didn't have a lot of money, but she started with 3-4 street going children in her own home, and that it has grown for last 56 years. We are proud to say Mrs. Sindhuta Joshi left this world in 2008, but we are looking of the Kamayani work for last 12 years, for 15 years. Kamayani is catering for mentally disabled persons in 3 branches right now in Pune, in Talegaon, Dabhade, and in the Nigidi area, which are in the periphery of Pune. So Kamayani was one of the pioneer institutes in India devoting to social work for mentally disabled people, So we are very blessed and proud to be working with the Kamayani Institute for last several years. And right now we have got about 600 students in our various 3 branches of school and workshops across the Western Maharashtra. And our teachers who were trained in Kamayani, they must have established at least 60 to 70 schools in Maharashtra area. So we're very proud of our record, Our Kamayani means, it's a Vedic word. It means inspiration, ambition, working for good things, So that is our mission, and we are driving on that, So our website is kamayani.org, Kamaya, kamayani.org. So we'll keep communicating. Now, yesterday I came to know that CAP Sarathi app has been released. I was very much glad to see that. I have not yet tested, but we'll circulate this new app to all the staff members, parents, their social workers, and whoever can benefit about it. Thank you very much, Sarthak and Capgemini, for this wonderful app, which I have been waiting for last 2 years. Other thing is, Guptaji mentioned about Darpan app. So our school office has been working with Darpan app, but I hear complaints that there is a lot of connectivity problem and frequent logins and capwords and all these passwords are required. So I hope the technical issues have been removed and we are able to communicate in Darpan app quite quickly. Now our current progress, we are very happy. We are serving a lot of people. In last breakdown for last 8 months was an eye-opener for most of us in India, and especially for NGOs working like us, because we have about 60 teaching staff in all 3 branches. And they were shocked because the students were also in a shock because they couldn't come to school. But our managing committee fought with this, and they developed a lot of digital communications with the staff, amongst the staff, with the parents, with the students, and with the other social workers. This is a great blessing in disguise, digital India. It's a wonderful thing, But we didn't realize the positive and negative points of it till we had to face it, The positive point is we can have wide world of sea of knowledge, sea of pools of knowledge, which you can access from anywhere, anytime. You can meet the friends on Zoom and other meeting. We can discuss. We don't have to catch a plane or go to with some other country. So this is much quicker, easier, and more personal communication, which I am very much happy about it. I tried to learn myself also a lot in last 1 year with the digital India, and I am very happy myself. But the problem is that most of our students which work in a school or which come to school and their parents, I think more than 80% students and their parents are unable to catch up with this new technology. And many of the common work parents, which are from very working background or poor background, they cannot afford some devices. So I'm sure Indian authorities and all the NGOs will find out some ways to enable the hardware circulation among the needed people. Now with the Aadhaar card and disabled Aadhaar card, all this progress, I'm happy that any help from NGOs or government authorities or social welfare departments will definitely go to the proper recipient quickly. And I am not for free distribution of such devices. I think parents or friends should share 20% of the cost of such devices, but 80% should be generated by the NGOs or government help without any hitch. I think I'm very happy to see that all the knowledge is trickling down from the top to bottom. It takes time, you know. I think we are very much educated. India is one of the most important leading country in digital evolution. And I congratulate all the brains in India, our government, our various ministries, our NGOs, all digitally involved people. I'm really happy to be in their company. But this is the more important thing. So things are getting better. We have to look at Corona and all these things in a blessing in disguise, and we'll catch up. But and other positive things we have found, that staying home for the students has brought the families together. I mean, the mother can talk more. Even siblings, normal siblings of mentally disabled person, are glad to help their brothers, sisters. So they are come closer. So this is a wonderful blessing in disguise. But eventually we need to go to the personal teaching. Maybe it cannot be crowded as before, but we can take classes on alternate days for alternate half students, and we can have closer touch, and we can use widely and very efficiently all this online pool of knowledge and demonstrations of various techniques and all. The life will be very interesting, but I hope that we'll try to find out some way to provide these devices to the needy people on the grassroots levels. And I'm very happy and congratulate this CAP Sarathi app, which I heard. I have not yet opened it. I'm going to open it and circulate. Then I will give my final remarks. But as I understand, this will help more than 10 to 15 crores of people with who are related to actual disabilities of various types, even their social workers, Samaj Sevak, and all these things in the government. So it's a great idea. I really thank you, everybody. I'm privileged to be with you. A special thanks to Dr. Jitendra Agarwal, who is the leading visionary in spite of his, that's what he promoted him. So I really pray him and God bless him. And I am very much glad to be with you all, the distinguished panel. Thank you. Namaste from Maharashtra, Pune. God bless you.
Thank you, Dr. Arvind Kulkarni, for sharing your excellent work that your Kamaini is doing. 600 students, 6 faculty, and 6 schools opened by the people who have been trained by you. It's really a very big achievement. And in addition to the work that you have done in the cancer, in the field of cancer, and the awards that you have won, that speaks volumes about your sincerity and dedication to the cause. Digital devices, availability of digital devices is definitely an issue with some of the PWDs. Yesterday I was hearing the gentleman from Tech Mahindra, and he said that when they started delivering digital content to the beneficiaries, PWDs, through their CSR initiative, they found that some of the people didn't have digital devices, and they themselves arranged quite a few of them and delivered it to them. So some of the NGOs and some of the other people are actually helping these people with the digital devices. We at Sarthak also had started a movement of identifying unused laptops in some of the organizations, and we could collect some of them and also distribute it. So as you say that this is a problem, and the solution can be found by teamwork and by collective effort. That again reinforces our belief that together we can achieve more, together we can walk longer, and together we can make a much bigger difference than what we can do individually. So thank you very much for these encouraging remarks and thought-provoking ideas. Darpan, I think, is a portal which is managed by Niti Aayog. So I have, frankly admitting, I have not myself visited that, but our people have been using it, and whatever problems you are highlighting, we will see if those problems can be highlighted to Niti Aayog for better. But if an NGO is registered on Darpan and TIS, the chances of his getting CSR funding improves. So that was the reason why we shared with the NGOs during our interactions, that why it is necessary to to reach or to enroll themselves with certain portals which give them a better it sort of brings them a certificate that they are good NGOs doing great job. So thank you, Dr. Kulkarni. Now we will go to Usha Pattabhiraman. She is having an over 25 years of corporate experience across marketing, staffing, and operations, and around 6 years in the NGO sector, which includes 3.5 years of full-time volunteering with various NGOs working with disability, and currently with Enable India since 2018 June. She has been involved in skill development programs sponsored by the government of Tamil Nadu. The varied experience she has gained over these 31 years have given her a fair bit of understanding of different stakeholders. Her strength lies in working with people in a collective manner, and her other interests are composing folklore. So over to Ushaji for sharing your thoughts about how can we achieve more together.
Thank you, Gupta ji, for your introduction and uh, interesting uh, statistics shared by Ravi ji, and of course Mahantesh ji's thoughts on collaboration and collective, and how Sarthak has been doing so well in this time of COVID, being able to generate job opportunities for over 3,000 people. So quickly just wanted to share a few things about Enable India. So we are a 20-year-old organization. We founded in 1999 by Shanti Raghavan and Dipesh. And we work across 14 disabilities. And we have impacted over 220,000 lives so far. And one interesting thing is that we have been able to open up about 291 job roles in the private and public sector. And why this is important for us is because we work in the livelihood space, providing dignified livelihood for persons with disability. And prior to 1999, most of the jobs for the persons with disability was only in government and only for reservations based on. So these 291 job roles that we've been able to create in the private and public sector has been a game changer. And as Mahantesh already mentioned, he's already spoken about the Disability NGOs Alliance. Yeah, Enable India had co-initiated this Disability NGOs Alliance. And well, coming to this whole thing of collaboration, right? How can NGOs collaborate? We have a lot of statistics about, we have this many million people who are persons with disability. But there's also one interesting fact that there is about 7% of economic losses to the GDP, okay, which is related to excluding persons with disability from the labor force. And this is what the focus is. This is the actual disability landscape in front of us. And when we actually look at the size of this issue there or problem there in front of us, the only possible solution can be bridging this gap and working together in a collective, correct? And leveraging the strengths of every NGO, because there are a lot of NGOs, respecting the fact that there are NGOs who have been working in this disability space for decades with their own expertise. They come with their unique knowledge, their own resources and best practices that they're able to bring, but working in silos. So getting a collaborative platform, a very cohesive ecosystem is what is going to help our NGOs benefit from each other. So when I'm talking this, I'd like to talk from our own experience, our experience of Mission 1000, which is a collective approach to scaling livelihoods of persons with the intellectual, developmental, severe, and multiple disabilities. Why I'm talking about Mission 1000 is, a group of NGOs, like-minded NGOs, thanks to the DNA, they all met with each other sometime in 2016. And when all these NGOs got together, each of them come with their own strength and expertise. But what they really understood was being able to respect that there are NGOs working in the space, coming with their strengths, and there is a focus. There is a common focus and need, and the need came from the NGOs that the focus needs to be on livelihoods of persons with severe disability and livelihoods in rural areas. And the answer clearly was it should be a mission mode, and that is how Mission 1000 was born. So what we do in the Mission 1000, it's a very we've kept it simple. Mission 1000 is about it's a collective approach, and it's a time bound and mission based approach, where we aim and where we have a plan which is owned by the company. Okay, Mission 1000 is owned by the companies, where the campaign is to create about 1,000 opportunities. When you're saying 1,000 opportunities, we're talking across. It could be skilling, it could be inclusive procurement and livelihood opportunities like jobs. It could be full-time, part-time jobs or paid internships, and also it aims to impact about 1,000 lives within the company. When we're saying within the company, we're talking about the company leaders, the customers that the company is dealing with, the vendors the company may be dealing with, and all the service providers and the larger community. So 1,000 opportunities and 1,000 lives in 1,000 days. So the mission is about, it's all about that 1,000. And how is that possible? Because of the collective. We have a collective NGOs, partner NGOs, so part of this Mission 1000. Our strength is collective. When we say collective, it is cohesive. We leverage from each other's expertise, and we learn from each other, and we actually utilize the strength of the other person, because one NGO may be great in connecting with organizations for creating employment, and there are NGOs who are experts because they work for decades working in this intellectual disability space, where they know how to work with a person with an intellectual disability. And there are NGOs who are able to bring in their strength about making products, the production. So we put all this together. And while we can all talk numbers, something very interesting that we need to know is that in Karnataka, I'm talking before this Mission 1000, we were able to create some 100 opportunities in a decade for persons with intellectual and development disabilities. But since Mission 1000, which we started in 2017, we have been able to create 1,050 plus opportunities. And where NGOs were just doing, making some 10,000 rupees or 20,000 rupees through their products that they would sell during seasonal things. Collectively, this collective Mission 1000 has been able to generate 89.6 lakhs worth of products that we've been able to produce together. So that is the power of collective that we're talking about. And I just like to leave all of us with a few stories, whether it's a story of Prithvi, a person who until his age of 16 had to depend on his mom for his brushing his teeth or bathing or his basic livelihoods. What do you think Prithvi could do? What kind of job can Prithvi be even given? Can he even do anything at all? This is the question in front of us. But what Prithvi is doing today is he's the sole breadwinner for his family. And that is what Mission 1000 as a collective has been able to do. We've been able to collectively work on skill development. One NGO, and like Enable India, we were able to give our expertise on the employability framework that is possible. And the other NGO, which is Dia Foundation, was able to work on Prithvi, work on his life skills. And we were able to find an option. We were able to find an opportunity, a collective opportunity, and Prithvi is working today. Or it can be a story of Bhuneshwari. Bhuneshwari, again, is a person until 20 years old. She was dependent on her mom to even travel alone. Okay, there's no way she could even left her house independently. But today, she is earning a monthly salary of 15,000 rupees. Okay, and she's also a lead of a unit, the cafe that she's working in. And it can also be a story of Naveen, because Naveen's story is very interesting. Naveen also has a parent who has, a psychological disability. And when Naveen came in for his skill development, one of the partner NGOs, again, our Mission 1000 NGOs, was able to work on Naveen. And one other NGO was able to identify an opportunity for him. And Naveen moved from being a receiver to a giver, because after his first salary that he got, he actually donated his salary to the NGO, which helped him, skilled him, and equipped him to get a opportunity or a job. And most recently, see, we are all talking about, yes, the pandemic, COVID is unexpected, has been unexpected, but not everything about COVID is adverse. because COVID has given us the opportunity, has given us this collective of Mission 1000 an opportunity to provide, to identify job opportunities for 47 individuals. And 27 of them working in digitization work. They're all working from home and they're earning salaries. And 20 of them, interesting, out of which 15 of them are persons on the autism spectrum and 5 persons with intellectual disability, have been placed very recently. We're talking about the last 3 months where it has happened. They've been placed on a paid internship with a mass media company. And that is, when we're talking about collective, it is about leveraging the strength. And I want to speak specifically about this engagement that we had, because we had to train 20 candidates in just 1 month's time. The organization wanted them ready to work in 1 month. So if that has to be done, one NGO cannot train them. So what we did is the collective, which is a collective of 5 NGOs that we're working on this. And one NGO strength was to give the employability training tool. The other NGO was able to give their strength in skilling. And we shared the 20 candidates, the responsibility of skilling the 20 candidates was shared among these 5 NGOs and building their capacity, the networking calls that we had, learning from each other. And most interestingly, onboarding all these 20 people happened along with peer sensitization sessions in just over a week, and all happening virtually. And about over 150 documents to 160 documents that we had to collate for them to be onboarded, which is not possible if it is one single NGO which is trying to do this thing. If it were just one Enable India or one DIA Foundation or an Akshada Foundation or Biswa Gauri Trust, it would not have been possible. But the collective, everybody worked with their the candidates they were working with. We were even able to orient them on how to digitally place the signatures on those documents, because these documents had to be signed for onboarding. And all of this took us just 2-3 minutes.
Sorry to interrupt, Ushaji. We might have to conclude.
Oh, sure, yes.
Yeah.
So this is the power of collective that we want to. I thought I should leave you with, and one just a very short story, and to leave us with is about Leonid, who has benefited from this internship. A person who's 42 years old, and until he was 42, he never knew what his challenge was, because he never knew his disability. He never knew why he was different. Neither did his family know that, so they never engaged with him. But this internship opportunity, this power of collective, has today equipped him, and he is one of those beneficiaries who is working with this mass media company for a paid internship. And thank you for giving this opportunity. And I would like to leave with the thought that Enable India is, we believe in celebrating human spirit, human life, and celebrating humanity. And we want to celebrate this success of the collective, where we've been able to place these candidates on internship. And thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ushaji. I think the Mission 1000, where you want to collaborate with different NGOs to make it possible, and the examples that you gave about Prithvi, Bhuvneshwari, Naveen, Leonid, where only collaboration could make it possible to train them and place them within 1 month, speaks volumes about the collective effort that you are doing and the impact that it is making. I think there can't be anything better than citing live examples to make it a point that collaboration has always been the way forward. Before we go to the next panelist, we have a small presentation on Capgemini app that was launched yesterday. So I'll request Nishtha to play that advertisement.
CapSarthi is a one-stop solution for information and services for people with special abilities, designed in collaboration with Capgemini and Sarthak Education Trust. We intend to touch the lives of thousands of differently abled people and empower them digitally, economically, and socially, with special focus on people in the rural area. The application takes into consideration the accessibility requirements of all disability categories. Initially, it will be available in 6 Indian official languages, namely Hindi, English, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, and Bangla. Let's get set to take a sneak peek in the application. Using the platform, people with disabilities or their family members can access relevant information through this app, such as information about government schemes, policies, and provisions such as disability certificate, pension, transport concessions, reservation, and others. Details of government, private, and non-profit service providers in areas of health, education, skill, employment, and rehabilitation. Details of national and international scholarship programs, details of fees or concessions on assistive devices providers, online resource such as Braille online audio books, details of assistive device and matrimonial services. There also would be informations of upcoming events such as assistive device camp, job fairs, and others. Various service support will also be extended using this platform, namely services such as counseling, guidance, early intervention, education, skill development, employment, career growth, and career continuance support. There will be parents counseling sessions, guidance, and support to parents of children with special needs, engagements, sensitization, and knowledge sharing with the changemakers and aspirant in the disability sectors. Updates of latest development in disability sectors such as assistive devices, judicial orders, government provisions, research and development. CAP Saarthi would support both Android and iOS devices and also would be available to people without smartphones. It's very simple registration form. 2 things required: name of the candidate and just the phone number. Thus, it becomes very simple for even people from remote villages. Once this information is provided, the offline team from Sarthak Help Desk Center would talk to them in their local languages and take it forward from there. It is now available in app stores, thus feel free to download the CAP Saarthi. Thank you very much and namaskar.
Thank you, Nishtha, for playing this video. Actually, this Capgemini app is available in 6 languages, 6 main languages, and it's still the database still being built up. So as we go along, I think it will have more and more features. The first version has been launched and it will be made more effective as we go along. Now we go to Radhika Ramamurthy ji, Deputy Director, Ability Foundation. She has been working with Ability Foundation for close to 18 years now and has been included in various activities or projects of the foundation. During free time, she enjoys traveling and dabble in painting. So Radhika ji, over to you regarding your thoughts about how we can make a difference, much bigger difference or much bigger empowerment of people with disability by having a collaboration and collective approach like Rashtriya Divyang Sashaktikarana Manch and DNA, which Dr. Mahantesh mentioned, and all other panelists have been sharing. So over to you, Radhika.
Thank you. Thank you for the warm introduction. Good afternoon, all. It's really lovely to meet all my co-panelists and everyone present here virtually, thanks to the Sarthak's initiative of holding this conference. It's really wonderful, and congratulations to Sarthak in partnership with Capgemini to bring out this CAP Saarthi, much needed app, tapping the technological availability now, and it's a really useful one moving forward. So as you may all know, Ability Foundation is a national cross-disability organization headquartered in Chennai, empowering and mainstreaming people with disabilities. On a reflective mode, for the past 25 years, our focus has been on inclusion and rights, much before the first Persons with Disabilities Act was even passed in 1996. like in 1997, employing a person with disability was not part of a conversation at all. You can't be seen, can't be heard, or even remotely spoken about. However, over the past couple of decades and a half later, employment in particular is being judged more on qualification and skills and not on disability now. So much has happened over these years on a positive note, thanks to technological innovations and the changing landscape. Since 1995, that's the year that we were born, we have been working in publishing and media, counsel and referral services, training and employment, awareness rising through advocacy, and promoting a level playing field. Each of our work has been really pioneering in its times, much before others even began their organizations. Now, none of our work could be done without any collaboration, whether it is with an NGO or with a corporate body or a government organization. There's always been some form of the other collaboration has been taken place. Now, for instance, I would say the census with the state government way back in 2000 that we worked, then employability in 2004, our first pioneering job opportunities fair for qualified people with disabilities, collaborating with different corporate bodies and other organizations and promoting equal opportunity employment, corporate sensitization, and also access audits in collaboration with individuals, with companies, with institutes, promoting and ensuring inclusive education in with the university, and also about that competitive edge on one's achievement, breaking barriers to realize one's dreams, standing for the right for a level playing field, that one voice creating ripple effect, paving way for the others. That is through our awards. In fact, Dr. Mahantesh here is one of our Karen Care Award winner for eminence. All these have been very collaborative in nature, and we as an organization bridge the gap between people with and without disabilities. I'll state one more instance through our Ability Fest, that is our path-breaking, pioneering Biennale Film Festival, which began in 2005, showcasing extraordinary films around the world, films by, with, and without disabilities. All these have been possible in collaboration with the filmmakers, with the different educational organizations, different institutions, and the general public. It's actually a people's movement, I would say, all of us coming together towards a common goal on empowering persons with disabilities and making our society accessible and inclusive. Thank you. Dr. Gupta?
Thank you, Radhika ji, for sharing your thoughts. Bridging gap between people with and without disability. I think that is so important and so necessary. In a way, all of us have some sort of disability because everyone can't do everything, and everyone has some strength or the other. So if you think of it, everyone has some disability or everyone is capable of doing something. So that way all are equal. And those who have some disability in one aspect have some other strength in another aspect. So that basically compensates. It's only the way we take our strengths and weaknesses makes us disabled or enabled. So I think you are doing a great job. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Now we go to the last panelist, Purnima Nair, Director Health and Disability, Apnalaya. Purnima Nair is a public health professional with over a decade of experience in working with grassroots organizations. She has an extensive background in developing and implementing community-based programs and research projects on issues of maternal and child health and nutrition and disability. Purnima has worked across the clinical and community healthcare spectrum in varied settings and leadership roles. She is currently working with Apnalaya as Director Health and Disability. Apnalaya works with the urban poor enabling access to basic services, healthcare, education, and livelihood, empowering them to help themselves, and ensuring provision of civic entitlements through advocacy with the government. So over to you, Purnimaji.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gupta. Thank you so much for the introduction. And thank you so much for the entire team, Dr. Jitendra and this entire team who's put up such an excellent virtual platform for getting us all together. I mean, it's wonderful to be here as a part of this panel discussion with all the experts here. Just wanted to start with a couple of concerns that we should definitely consider when it comes to working with persons with disability. Just to begin with, what Apnale has been doing, Apnale has been working in the space of disability through a community-based approach. Basically, it is more in the approach of rehabilitation across all the area, whether it is health, education, livelihood. You could also say that many a times, Apnale is also the first point of contact when it comes to a person with disability living in the most vulnerable communities in the urban slum population. Some of the issues that I would like to highlight here is that many a times a disability is looked as in the relief framework rather than the entitlements framework, and this is something that we need to sort of put it right up front when we talk about working with persons with disability. Secondly, making development, delay, and disability an integral part of any program, whether it comes to health, especially health, and also when we look at education, livelihood, and other supporting programs. The third thing that I would want to highlight here is the sheer disenfranchisement of people living with disability in the absence of basic identification and certification requirement. And fourthly, ensuring the gaps when it comes to the new act that came in place in 2016, the RPW Act, and the implementation of the rules across all the states. We still have many states who have not adopted or have not really released the rules of the based on the act, which takes us from looking at disability from a medical framework to the social framework. These are some of the four key issues, as an organization, we have tried to sort of look at. Apnale has always looked at these things as a facilitator. We need to, we work with three levels. We work with individuals living with disability, working with the communities, strengthening them and building their capacities, and also the whole idea of ensuring there is normalization of a person with disability living in the most vulnerable populations, because we still see a lot of stigma and discrimination when it comes to disability. And of course, the third is working with government agencies, working in partnership and advocating for and being the voice for a person living with disability in the urban poor population. And what I want to highlight here is all of this cannot be achieved alone. It can only be achieved through a collaboration. And that is to some level something that Apnale has been able to achieve. We have always been, like I said, a facilitator in ensuring that there is, the individuals living with disability are coming into the mainstream, whether it comes to education, livelihood, and so on. And And an example of how we are doing that is also working with over 10 to 15 organizations, NGOs and government agencies when it comes to working with persons with disability. And that is something that we have been able to achieve in Bombay currently. And an example of how we are trying to also and amplify this, all the issues raised by various panelists here. Of course, as an individual, as one organizations working in silo, this is definitely not possible. And it can only be achieved through collaboration, through working and getting these platforms of having like-minded people and organizations together, and working with the government agencies very closely in creating a more sustainable impact of the work that we all are doing, and also ensuring that at the end of the day, a person with disability sometimes is invisible and is also made invisible when it comes to living a life with dignity, and that is where I think all of us together can make an impact. Over to you, Mr. Gupta. Thank you so much for the opportunity, for helping me share some of my thoughts and Apnale's work. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. I think health is one of the most important aspects of without health, even the normal people can't do anything. So health is everything, and your efforts towards this and being a first point of contact in the community for any such requirements is really commendable. We are almost at the end of the time. There is one question. Working in collaboration will be more effective and efficient to empower PWDs, like public-private partnership. The model of government, private, NGOs is the most needy to have better sustainability. Any option or examples or models in this direction, any panelists would like to share? I mean, do we propose, or do we have any model which is already, like DNA is one, any other model which you would like to share?
Mr. Gupta, I would like to answer this thing. So,
Yes.
We have a program in Enable India, which is Enable Inclusion. So what we do in Enable Inclusion is that, see, we have jobs for persons with disability under the quota system and reservation system in the public sector divisions or the government thing. But whether they are employed meaningfully and in a dignified manner is the thing. So what happens most often, they are taken in, but there is no work for them, correct? They're not given enough responsibility, or not given that dignity. So Enable Inclusion team actually creates that awareness and skills those the public sector units and identifies job roles that can actually be given to these people. So the people who are already employed but don't have a work, they're not working because they're persons with disability. There's this fear of unknown, right? What kind of job to give. So that is the gap that Enable Inclusion bridges. And I think it might indirectly answer what this person really wants to know, because working with the public sector units, working with government to help them understand that there are job roles that these persons can do, and providing the required assistive solutions, working on and identifying solutions and employing them and making them contributors and taxpayers is the focus of Enable Inclusion. So that is a model that can work.
Yeah, I think well said, because collaboration and cooperation is the key to multiplying the efforts of one person into giving a result of many. Anyone else would like to contribute to this?
I would like to add a little more with regard to the employment per se, because at the end of the day, we would like to make as many people people with disabilities financially independent, right? So that's what the whole ultimate goal for every one of us. So I beg to differ in this aspect because we don't really follow the principle of identifying a job role. We believe in getting the right, see, when a company advertises for a job opportunity, he or she, if they are technically qualified based on the skills that is being demanded, then he or she should be given that opportunity to be interviewed on a level playing field. That equal opportunity employment is something that we have to promote in a very massive way. That very often is not happening of late. So we need to push this emphasis on the fact that given India is not accessible, much different from what the West is. But now here in India, despite whatever the apprehensions are, there are people who have come up to that level wherein they are technically qualified. They're soundly, they have done their master, they have done their engineering, they have done their arts and science, and they're quite well equipped. So when they apply for a job, all that they need to do is to demand the right to be interviewed just like any other person, purely on qualification, purely on the skill, and then provide whatever is necessary from the company to make sure it is to be in a very workable and accessible environment. So that is what we need to really pitch in. So the bottom line is to be identified as an individual first, and then taken into consideration whatever the disability is. Once you're selected, the company should ensure you give them a workplace accommodation. That is all we need to pitch in now.
Yes, Dr. Arvind.
Yeah, I have got one quick question. Job, earning are very important things. Even we have to consider self-employment by the skilled people, because who are really progressive, they will be self-employed. That is also one option. Second thing I would like to know, are there any, when I went to USA a long time ago, there was an intern matching program, and I can put my biodata and hospitals can put there, and we were matched very quickly within 8 to 10 days, you know. Is there any matching program between employer and employee of various PWD skills? And if there is there any like employment exchange, like for general people, there are government employment agencies. I don't know how efficient they are working, but I think we can have one matching program. I don't know if that already exists or not. So which should be very transparent, not too much technical or very hatch. So let me just inquire whether you have any matching program right now for anybody who can apply and match their skills against the needs of the various organizations.
थैंक यू डॉक्टर कुलकर्णी. आई थिंक अभी इस पैनल का टाइम खत्म हो गया है. मैं थोड़ा सा हिंदी में समराइज करूंगा आज के डेलिब्रेशंस को. हमारा आज का टॉपिक था कि राष्ट्रीय दिव्यांग सशक्तिकरण मंच जो एक इनिशिएटिव सार्थक ने लिया है, इसके बारे में पैनल के क्या विचार हैं कि क्या कोलैबोरेशन और कोऑपरेशन से हम लोग जो काम इंडिविजुअली कर रहे हैं अलग अलग एनजीओज वो इससे ज्यादा कर सकते हैं, या फिर हम लोग अलग अलग ही ठीक हैं. तो एक साधारण आम विचार यही बना है कि एग्जाम्पल्स के थ्रू, जैसे डीएनए है और जैसे उषा जी ने बताया कि एक दूसरे की कोलैबोरेशन से ही हम लोग 1 महीने में 20 लोगों को एम्प्लॉय कर पाए, ट्रेन कर पाए, और कलेक्टिवली हम लोग अपनी बार्गेनिंग पावर और अपनी वॉइस, अपनी आवाज जो सरकार तक या जो पॉलिसी मेकर्स तक ले जा सकते हैं वो बहुत ज्यादा इफेक्टिव होगी, उसकी सुनवाई होगी. हम गवर्नमेंट को अपने कलेक्टिव एग्जांपल्स और कलेक्टिव एफर्ट से उनको बता सकते हैं कि कंट्री के किस हिस्से में क्या चीज ज्यादा सक्सेसफुल है और क्या चीज कहाँ पेन पॉइंट्स हैं और क्या करने की जरूरत है. हम लोग सार्थक में लगातार ये प्रयास करते रहते हैं, और जैसा डॉक्टर कुलकर्णी ने कहा कि भी जॉब मैपिंग भी एक एस्पेक्ट है जो इसमें होना चाहिए. तो जैसे अभी बहुत सारे इनिशिएटिव कोविड के टाइम में हुए हैं बिकॉज ऑफ डिजिटल ट्रांजिशन, उसी तरह से मुझे लगता है कि ये जो जॉब मैपिंग का काम है ये भी बहुत जल्दी होगा. आप सब लोगों की जो कलेक्टिव बार्गेनिंग पावर होगी और जो कलेक्टिव एफर्ट होगा उसमें हम लोग अब से मतलब कोविड ने जहां एक तरफ हमें मुश्किलें पैदा की हैं, वहीं हमें बहुत अपॉर्चुनिटीज भी दी हैं। सब लोग घर बैठ के खाली टाइम में या वैसे बहुत कुछ सोचने को टाइम मिला है, लोगों को कैसे एम्पावर करना है। जब कोविड खत्म हो जाएगा तब भी ये ऑनलाइन मॉडल जारी रहेगा, ये मेरा विश्वास है। तो इसके साथ ही मैं आप सब लोगों को धन्यवाद देता हूँ आज के इसमें पार्टिसिपेट करने के लिए। और एक हमने सार्थक में पहले हमारे सारे काम मैन्युअली होते थे, एक्सेल शीट्स वगैरह पे हम लोग सारा डाटा कलेक्ट करते थे। बट लास्ट ईयर हमने एक इनिशिएटिव लिया जिसमें हमने अपना एक MIS सिस्टम बनवाया है, मैनेजमेंट इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम। ऑर्गजिट कंपनी का नाम है, जो हमारे साथ अभी जुड़े हुए हैं, नितिन वर्मा जी। वो आपके साथ उन्होंने MIS में क्या कुछ किया है और उनके सिस्टम की क्या कैपेबिलिटीज हैं, ये आपके साथ शेयर करेंगे। हो सकता है आप सब में से किसी को इसका बेनिफिट हो और उनसे कोलैबोरेट करके आप लोग भी ऐसा एक सिस्टम बनवाने में इंटरेस्टेड हो। तो नितिन जी, ओवर टू यू।
Yeah, thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure hearing everybody talk and just seeing the impact everybody has been creating in the world. So I also come from a very impact-driven experience. So I used to build water infrastructure prior to getting into technology. So about 5 years back or 4.5 years back, I realized that technology is going to be the biggest enabler, whether it's when we are talking about any kind of business, any kind of social impact work. And that sort of navigated me to start working in technology area. So I've been working on technology both in the water infrastructure space as well as in helping other organizations get better benefit from technology. So specifically for social enterprises and NGOs, the biggest challenge is that everybody knows that technology has to be adopted. It's nothing new. But the challenge is none of the, or very few agencies like Sarthak have the technology budget, because you're always limited with the funds, because you always feel you want to spend more money or more resources on training one additional person rather than like buying in technology or buying equipment and things like that. So given that constraint, how does one agency adopt technology, especially if they want to increase the benefit? Because everybody knows that if you have technology, the per dollar impact in terms of like the number of beneficiaries that can be trained, or the kind of training or the jobs that can be raised is going to be much higher. So what we did was we took the best of cloud technologies, and we basically made it so simple to create new database applications, new workflow management applications. So over the last 1.5 years, we've been working with Sarthak under Dr. Agarwal's leadership, Dr. Suresh Gupta's leadership, and basically the whole advisory board of Sarthak, and we have come up with a very customized application using our technology. So we have married the technology component with the knowledge and the way of working of Sarthak to come up with a very innovative way of managing the MIS system. So there are various other software solutions which are available, which some of them are very expensive. In fact, Sarthak was using like a very dedicated system, but what the challenge they were facing was it was not flexible. So we have given them a system which is very flexible, which looks like a lot of Excel spreadsheets. So people find it very easy to use. At the same time, it can do a lot of different things in terms of controlling. So just to give you an example, so Tarun, who's the operational head, he says, so I was asking him a few days back, what is the benefit that you have seen? So the biggest benefit he said was, we are able to increase our productivity. A team person's productivity has increased anywhere between 30 to 50%. What that basically means is that, so I was hearing talk about like 1,000 people in 1,000 days. So basically that means in 1,000 days, now you don't target 1,000 people, you target 1,300 people. So that is the impact of technology that can actually have, right? And it is not only in terms of like increasing productivity, or like in a business sense, it would mean increasing revenue, but in terms of Sarthak and all the other NGOs, it's basically increasing the number of beneficiaries who can benefit from the system. So some of the other benefits were centralization of the work that you're doing. Instead of working on multiple spreadsheets, multiple WhatsApp groups, emails, you're able to now run the entire team of Sarthak, for example, around 125 people are able to run on a single system. So they have access to the same database, right from mobilization to registration, to the education, to the attendance, all on a single platform, which basically enables everybody to get a 360-degree view of how a particular person is performing and how, for example, if an NGO of, let's say, Capgemini wants to see which are the beneficiaries who have benefited from the dollar that was donated to Sarthak, they can actually do that today, which was not possible, or maybe it was possible earlier, but it would have taken maybe one day to figure that out. But now it's very, very easy with a click of a button. And then a lot of things become real time. And now we are actually thinking of connecting some of the, for example, the CAP app or Sarthak's website where people apply for jobs to the database, so that, or to the MIS system, so that everything becomes an integrated platform. And the benefit, large enterprises like Capgemini or let's say HDFC Bank or Naukri.com, they are able to visualize using technology and able to grow. The same benefits can be made available to organizations like Sarthak and other organizations here. So we would love to sort of partner with each one of you. And in fact, I've reached out to some of you whose name I could find on LinkedIn, sending a personal connection request. So if you would love to learn more about how we have helped, we can show you the dashboards and the reports that we generate on the system, which is like sort of help Sarthak increase their productivity. I'd love to show you that. So thanks a lot, everybody, for this opportunity. And we have been working with Sarthak for 1.5 years. We have learned a lot, and it's my personal pleasure. So I personally, while I'm like, I have a lot of other responsibilities, but I personally get involved in doing this because this is, I mean, this is what my background is. And I mean, I totally believe in inclusive development. So I left a good, I mean, just on a personal note, I left a good career working in the US to come back to India to basically have an impact. So I moved from infrastructure now to technology, but the core thing which drives me personally is also impact. And that is one of the reasons why I love working with Sarthak. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, Nitin. And for the benefit of all the viewers, I must congratulate Orgzit for giving us such a brilliant MIS system. We have a system of weekly appraisal of all the centers where I am also involved directly. And let me tell you that before the MIS, we were struggling with the data. We will ask everyone to send his reports and his progress and his requirements, everything by email or by fax or by snail mail. And then we will take a lot of time shifting through that to find out what is required at which place. Now everything is online. In fact, when we do the review of the centers, everyone involved in the review logs into this Orgzit system, and we are looking at the same database. So there is no need of debating who has done what. Everything is visible in one click. And then we only discuss about what gaps are remaining, and that has really improved our efficiency, even settlement of accounts and so many things. I mean, it's really a complete system. So we hope that anyone who wants to automatize the system in different branches will be benefited by this system.
So thanks a lot, sir. So I just want to say one small thing. So, I mean, while we are a commercial organization, we offer a lot of discounts, both in terms of our services and the product itself. And also Sarthak and Orgzit are trying to put together a program where like the learnings of the last 1.5 to 2 years of building the system and doing this can also be leveraged by other organizations who are participating in the RDSM program. So if you want somebody from the Sarthak team to support you on how it was done, how we were selected, and what benefits we have been able to do, we can put together also a case study for you, or you can learn from our experience. We'll be happy to share that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I think everyone may be aware that Sarthak was featured on Kaun Banega Crorepati in last week of November. And we have a small video of that program, which we like to share with all the panelists and the participants in this program. So, Nishtha?
So before that, should we start with the virtual mementos handover?
maybe we can play the video and then we can
Sure.
give the.
Sure, sir.
Sir, actually, the video is a larger
Okay,
version.
okay.
It would be around 15-20 minutes.
Okay, okay. So in that case, we'll go with the virtual memento. Just
Sure,
as
sir.
a token of appreciation, we are presenting a virtual memento to all the panelists. Dr. Mohantesh, Dr. Arvind Kulkarni, Purnima Nair, Radhika Ramamurthy, Usha Pattabhiraman, Dr. Ravi Pisapati.
And so on behalf of Team Sarthak, we'd also like to thank our moderator, Dr. S.K. Gupta, sir, for the comprehensive moderation and beautiful insight. Thank you, sir. Thank you for
Okay,
moderating.
thank you so much.